Hey, Joel here. A while back I got this stamp set, and it came with this little pouch thing to store them in. The material is kind of flimsy and the stamps have a tendency to fall out, so I decided to make a nice box to store them in. Off camera, I selected a few pieces of cherry wood from the wood pile. The sides of the box will be cut from the larger board, however I'm going to need to glue up these thinner boards to make the top and the bottom. Before I do the glue up, I head over to the jointer and run each board through to ensure that they have a clean, flat, and square edge. Then I can glue the boards together. I lay down a sheet of wax paper to keep the glue from sticking to the work surface. Then it's just a matter of making sure that there is full glue coverage. And then just add clamps. While that glue is curing, I can divide the larger board that will be used for the four sides. After adjusting the blade and setting the fence, I do a rip cut to get the board roughly to the final width. And then for the resaw, I position the fence and make a series of passes, raising the blade a little bit after each pass. Then I can go back and remove the other panel from the clamps. And then I can run all of the boards through the planer to bring them down to final thickness, which is 3/8 of an inch. Then back on the table saw, I do a series of rip cuts on each board to get them to final width. Next, using the crosscut sled, I can trim the pieces to final length. Now several of the pieces will be getting rabbets. I do this on the router table using a 3/8 inch bit. I make several passes raising the bit each time until I get a nice flush fit. At this point, I still need to cut additional rabbets in the sides for the dividers, but I actually want to make the dividers first. So back on the table saw, I am trimming down some 1/4 inch plywood offcuts. Same process as before, first a rip cut, then I trim the pieces to length using the crosscut sled. Once the dividers are sized correctly, I can set up the fence for the rabbets. And then I make a series of passes, adjusting the fence and the blade height as I go until the dividers comfortably fit in the rabbets. Now you'll notice that I have already marked out square holes on the divider. I didn't show that part because I ended up going with round holes instead. For this, I carefully measured out and marked the horizontal and vertical points. Then on the drill press, I bore out each hole. And this process is repeated for the other divider, and then I give them a light sanding with 320 grit. Next, I use the stamps to mark out the individual letters and fill the impression with a fine point marker. After I applied a coat of spray-on poly, I noticed that there was a sort of wicking action going on. I debated whether or not I was okay with this, and no, I was not okay with this. So I decided to completely redo the piece using cherry. All of these steps are the same as before, so I'm just going to kind of breeze through this. I rip the board, joint it, resaw it, plane it, trim it, mark it, drill it, and stamp it. Yep, that's a significant improvement, and I am much happier with this result. Before I assemble the box, I line the bottom with some stick-on cork. Then, after a quick sanding, I can glue the box together. I'll start out with just the sides and the dividers. I apply even glue coverage, trying to minimize the squeeze out that will be on the inside of the box. Then I use this corner strap thing to clamp everything together. After that glue has cured, I can then glue the top and bottom pieces. At this point, I have a sealed box and I will need to cut the lid off, but before I do that, I am going to give it a quick sanding with 120 grit while everything is still in one piece. Next, I apply some masking tape along the cut line. This will help minimize tear out when I cut the lid. Then I take it over to the table saw, adjust the fence, and very carefully run the box through on 3 sides. Before cutting the 4th side, I tape in a pair of popsicle sticks as spacers. This will help keep the lid from flapping around as it nears the end of the cut. Then, to smooth out the remaining marks, I use a flat board with a strip of sandpaper stuck to it. At this point, I can install the hardware. The hardware I am using here isn't anything special, just some regular store-bought brass hinges and this little clasp hook thingy for the front. Once the hardware is installed, I can then uninstall the hardware and do some final prep before finishing the box. There were some tiny gaps, so I am using a little filler just here and there. I just spread it on with a putty knife, wait for it to dry, and then, you guessed it, more sanding. Then of course I have to add my maker's mark to the box. And finally, I am ready to apply the finish. I am using Minwax tongue oil. It's pretty easy to work with. Just wipe it on, wait about a half hour, and then give it a light buff. And off camera, I did apply a second coat. Then it's just a matter of reinstalling the hardware, and then moving the stamps to their new home. That about does it for this one. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this project, be sure to check out some of my other build videos. And thanks for watching.